What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Today we are going to be doing a tutorial video on how to read greens when you have no green grid. I'm going to take you through a few of the tips that I have, things that I look for when I'm reading the greens myself. I like to think that we're a pretty decent true sim player. So we're going to be hopping into Blues Putting Stadium, which is a favorite of mine. It's an 18-hole putting course. Basically just a giant practice putting green. Has 2 sets of pins, so you can try all sorts of different putting here. If you enjoy, please make sure to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. So the first thing that you have to do, in my opinion, when you want to read greens without green grid and you don't have the scout cam on, is you got to go into your settings and make sure that you turn on the approach and putting camera. This is going to give you multiple cameras, multiple shortcuts as well that are going to let you quickly fly around the green and take a look at things. So if you put this on, once you're within, I think it's 45 yards of the green, you will be able to use your normal scout cam button, triangle on PlayStation controller, and that's gonna bring you to here. Now I can move down, I can move up, I can move side to side. That's going to allow me to very easily maneuver. Now, I swing with left stick, so if you swing left stick, it's going to be right stick click to jump to the next camera. If you swing right stick, it's just going to be left stick click. It's your aim stick. But now with that, I can go behind the hole. There's an above the green view, and then there are 2 side views, and then it'll bring you back around. So that's first things first. My opinion, some of the most important stuff when it comes to green reading is just being able to move around the green and see things a little bit. Now, the next thing is that you want to look how the ball is relative to your feet. Now here, we can see pretty easily that the ball is squared up with my feet. We're on a flat lie here. Everything's gonna come out pretty well straight. Now, obviously, the next part when you're reading a putt is you want to look at the tilts of the hole. So in the last game, you could use the tilt of the flag to be able to tell pretty consistently. Like you can see here, you have the little triangle that comes down from the flag marker. That is always vertical. So straight line, you could tell that the flag in 2K21, if that lined up with it, it was straight. If there was a little bit of tilt, you knew that there was tilt at the hole. In this game, it's not quite as consistent. Sometimes the flag seems to tilt when the green doesn't quite tilt as much. So what you have to do is just bring your aim marker back closer and get a read. You can see that it's still fairly flat at the hole. Maybe there is just a slight right to left movement on it, but generally speaking, the hole is going to be your source of truth. So with those 2 things, I like to call them like your known goods, because now when you have your known goods, you can start using some relative positioning to get yourself a read for the rest of the putt, right? So if you know, okay, well, it's flat at my feet, and you know what right to left looks like, then if you look at the rest of the putt, you're going to be able to see, okay, well, if it turns a little bit differently and I know it's right to left, well, if it's tilted a little bit differently, maybe then you know that it's more right to left, it's left to right, it's flatter. You can kind of use what you know to be true and then figure out the in-between based on contours. And I personally like to also go around side to side, because if you know that something is tilted and then you look at it from different angles, you can a lot of times see a little bit more of that information. So having looked at this putt, it's a little bit of a longer one. So longer putts to me always mean a little bit more guesswork. But from what I can see with this and using what we've just looked at, it seems to me that it's straight for most of it, right? We know it's flat at our feet. And we know there's a tiny bit of right to left towards the end. And you can kind of see in the middle of the putt that there's a little bit of tilt coming from right to left. Like it doesn't start until about halfway, but you can kind of see where that mow pattern changes over here. If you follow that line out, can kind of see that it's got a little bit of tilt there. So I would put this outside, just outside to the right, maybe somewhere like here. And I'm going to use a putt preview just as a way to check. And so I underread it. Now, admittedly, this is also a little bit less power than I would normally play on my putt. I would normally play it to try and get about 3 feet past the hole. So for me, that's kind of the line. But you can see we've made the right read. as far as how this putt breaks. That's where I go back to. At the end of the day, you still have to get the power right and read enough break. But being able to see where the break happens, that is step number one to getting on the right track. It's also going to be very important knowing your green speeds, what's going to break more or less. I am playing these on fast greens. I think I have a ball on, like a gray ball on, so that's why the number's a little bit off. So I need to factor in that, okay, a fast green is going to break more. So what looks like a very subtle amount of break for a while actually is going to turn quite a bit. So one other thing that I have been having some success with helping to read the green, at least at my feet, which is especially useful on short putts because obviously you have less ground to cover, but the putter face. Like the flag, last game, it was a lot more accurate, a lot more telling. In the last game, the putter face would be squared up. So the little alignment line from behind the ball, you would have a straight line from the putter to the flag. As you can see here, the putter face is a little bit angled to the left, but it is consistent in how it is angled to the left. So you can use that to your advantage. This is a flat putt, right? We were looking at hole number 1 before. It was flat at the start, but you can see what that angle is. If you can learn what that angle looks like, you can use that to your advantage because when it looks at that diagonal, that's a straight, that's flat at your feet. And what I'll try and find some putts just to demonstrate from here, if you have a left to right breaker and that ball is below your feet, you're actually going to get a straighter alignment line, which helps you to tell that it's going to break off to the right. And conversely, if it's on a right to left, that angle is going to open up just a little bit. So it's a little weird, but it can help you to get on a little bit better of a line. So if you look at this putt, right, we can see that it's left to right. The hole is tilted a little bit that direction, and you can see that ever so slightly, that angle is closed to the cup. So then we can very easily put it on the left-hand side and drive it home. In this putt here, if we bring in our aim marker and we look at our feet, it's pretty clear to see the ball is below our feet, so we know it's left to right, and as a verification, we can see that that putter face tilt is just a little bit closed. So it's just those little things that when you can't quite tell, because sometimes different camera angles are going to give a little bit different of a feel. And the way I like to look at it is if all of your camera angles line up, you've got the right read, right? It's going to be flat or left to right or right to left, what have you. If you get a weird feeling from back and front, I tend to hit those ones just a little bit straighter because sometimes there is a little bit of double break that's hard to see. As far as that goes, that's how I like to read it. If you get from front and back, you get a different read. Probably best to hit it at least a little bit straighter for that section of the putt that you can't quite tell. For the final exhibit, we've got a right to left putt. And here, that line is just a little bit more open. I know it's not a lot. It's very subtle. Takes some time to get used to. But for me, in recent weeks, I've been having a little bit of success on greens that might be a little bit harder to read. It's going to vary. Some courses, the greens are easier to read than others. But when all else starts to fail and you're having a hard time, maybe it's heavy shadows, what have you, gets dark, you can still look at that putter face. Take a look at that line, and if it's got just what feels like a little extra tilt, it's going to take some time. You're going to get used to what flat looks like and then go from there. But when it's just a little bit open, a little bit closed, it can definitely help you get that putt started on the right line. Because if you get it started on the wrong line, then you got to hope that your power is what can adjust to make you get to the hole. So that's what I've got. Thanks for watching. If you have further questions, feel free to drop questions in the comments. Stop by our Twitch stream. We play True Sim rounds a couple days a week, so if you have putting questions there, I am more than happy to answer them in any forum. Thank you all for watching. I will catch you guys in the next video.